All right, so today we are taking this 170. We are going to swap out the carburetor on it for an adjustable one, and we are going to port the muffler, get it tuned, and probably sharpen the chain. I can't imagine it's in good shape. First things first, I'm going to take off the bar and chain so I'm not smacking stuff with it. Maybe. Wow. Those are on there. So in case you're wondering, no, there is absolutely zero reason for these to be that tight. And granted, yeah, they're a little gummed up, but that was put on there with an impact driver. That was ridiculous. Set those up there. The side cover wasn't cracked because of that, so that's good. There is no side tensioner. This is a front tension, so you gotta adjust it up here by the bar. You can swap that out for a side tensioner, but I don't know that it's really worth it with this saw. We're gonna set all this stuff off to the side. All right, so front tension, it's got, I don't know if you can see that, it's got some little grooves in it, but they don't look too bad. I don't think that's gonna cause any issues, so I'll just leave that. Take off this top cap, set that off on the table too. I've got a separate table behind me because I have too much crap on this table. Got our air filter, just in surprisingly good shape. Now we have two, what I'm assuming is going to be, what, 8? That's 5/16. Is that? No, never mind. They're 5/16. Take this housing off of here. Sorry if the camera angles aren't the greatest. I'm just using my phone on a tripod, trying to get it to work for now. I've got too much other stuff to pay for and take care of at the moment, but I do eventually plan on getting a GoPro or a camcorder, something to make this a bit easier. Be able to show you guys a bit more than I reliably can now. Alright, so that's loose. Just got to get the last little bit there. Oh, man, it'll drop down in anyway. Come here. Come here. There we go. Set those up there with the bar nuts. And this whole piece is going to slide off. And this butts up to the carburetor. Just set that off to the side. Scoot you guys over, down a little bit. There we go. That'll probably work. All right, so now we have all this. Well, this piece, we'll just go ahead and get it wheeled out of there, out of the way, because I'm sure I'll end up fighting with it at some point. Now we have the carburetor. Notice the high, zoom in here, there we go. So this is where your high and your low jet should be, and they have plugged both of these holes, so you can't make adjustments to it at all. And it doesn't adjust automatically, like a lot of the new M-tronics. So what happens is people get these and they'll think it runs pretty good for a day, 2 days, maybe 3, and then it'll start bogging, it'll lose power, they can't figure out what's wrong. It's not fixable. It is just doomed at that point. So there is a Walbro carburetor. So I don't mess up the numbers here. And I'll probably put it on screen too, if I remember to do that. Oh, okay, well, 170, first one that pops up here. I say pops up, it's a book. It's not a pop-up book, unfortunately. That would be a lot cooler. So I went through and I started making this book. It's got the power, RPM, range, production, just something because I got bored. And I'm constantly adding to it. So this 170. You can see all that cool stuff. They have been discontinued. But I made a note. It has fixed jets, those high and low ports that have been blocked off. A Walbro WT215-1. They have, some of them have been rebranded to a TI Automotive, but it should be the same number. So that Walbro is what you would run in your 250s, your 025. I don't know about the 251s. Those are a little bit too new for me. I haven't run one, and I tend to run bigger saws. So this is that carburetor. You've got your high and your low screw. You've got your idle screw. Fully adjustable. And they vary in price a lot. I've gotten these anywhere from $35 to I've seen them up to $75. However, if this is all the bigger saw you're ever going to need, and you never want to go bigger, then spending that on this carburetor and having a good running saw is honestly better than fighting with this thing or going and getting DeWalt or a Poland or some other hot garbage. So we are going to now take off all of these linkages. Let me zoom in here again. So hopefully you can see all this. So we have our throttle linkage. So I pull the trigger. Oh, that's not throttle. That's a clutch. Oh, I got them flipped around. I was working on a McCullough saw earlier today, and the clutch, or the not the clutch, the choke is on this side, and the gas is on this side. Got me all messed up. So this is the clutch. Or, geez, not the clutch. I'm doing really great today. This is your choke lever, which usually just sticks out the back of the saw. Your throttle linkage runs off to your right side, and it hooks in way back in there. And this little lever here is what turns in there to give you gas and whatnot. So we're going to get all this pulled out. I guess I should explain. This cable is ground. So whenever you're running it, you're going, you're doing great, you want to kill the saw, that ground will come into contact with this little ribbon up here, and it'll kill it. There we go. It'll flip up, up over the top, hit that ground, and it'll kill the saw. So let's get all this stuff pulled off. So we already have these two nuts off. We're going to get some little pliers. If you ever want to work on saws, a couple things I would definitely recommend aside from just your sockets, your screwdrivers, these, a set of picks. They come all bent and U-shaped and curly Qs and everything. Super helpful. Needle, like thin needle nose pliers are pretty helpful for getting in here. A lifesaver. So changing out like fuel filters, fuel lines, stuff like that, and getting down in there. Just get you a set of like cheap, not even surgical, just some metal locking forceps. So if you need, you can grab a gas line, you can clamp it closed. It's like the veins of the saw, and they get all the way back into the gas tank. With these, the big bulky handles get in the way. You can only get back to about here, and most of the time that filter is all the way down the bottom. So yeah, forceps. I don't know, they come in different lengths. I don't know what these are for sure. All right, so yeah, let's start getting all this torn off. So there's ways to do these that make it a lot easier, and it took me way too long to figure it out. So not your clutch, your choke lever, you're gonna pivot this forward, and then slide the whole carb forwards just a tiny bit, and then it'll pop right out of there, and then it just presses into down here. It's just a straight rod. So set that off to the side. Your throttle linkage. Notice when I pull the trigger, it pops out towards the front like that. There we go. So what I'm gonna do is just try to get a hold of it with the pliers and pop it off the back. If how that actually operates, probably would have been a good thing to think about. That might be different on this saw. All right, we're gonna take out these two bolts here and then take the side off so I can see exactly what's going on in there. It fits in there strange. Also, one of these, I believe this is still brand. It's a T27 5mm star bit. I'm sure there's a more technical term. I'm not a technical person, but that tends to fit a lot of this stuff. It is not fitting that. It does fit these ones though. This gets 80% of the like hex bit shaped things out, but not this time. So regular screwdriver. And these are just in plastic. It's not like they're going to be in super tight or anything. Get these back out of here. And that'll pop off. All right, so now we can see how that throttle linkage is actually attached. Huh. I don't know how you get that wiggled out of there, really. So we're just going to take this whole thing out. Keeping pressure on here to make sure nothing extra flies out. All right, so I have the throttle off its little peg. I'm just gonna turn it, pop it off of there, put it back in, and get this hooked right back under there, just like that. Is there an easier way to do it? Yeah, probably. All right, so that's loose from the throttle anyway, or the trigger on the throttle. We're gonna pull out this ground cable that just press fits in there. It's not anything fancy. We're gonna flip that up, and it's clipped down into that plastic there, and then it's just pushed in over here. So what we're gonna do, pop that up, wiggle it a little bit, pop that out. Now this is slightly more free. That twisted, pulled out of there. Set that up out of the way. Now all we should have attached is the fuel line, which runs up from, well, the fuel tank and then right into the carburetor. So slide this forward, just a bit. Ooh, I forgot about something. And I feel like you're gonna do this no matter how many times you work on a saw. It's so easy to forget stuff. This probably still got gas in it. It does. It is full of gas. Well, I vented it, so let's see if we can get this off without it spraying gas everywhere. There's a little bit. That wasn't too bad. All right, we're good to go. I'll take this off. Make sure I don't put too much pressure on that. Also, this is just a saw I fixed up somebody's, and they just traded me this one straight across for fixing theirs. So I figured I should probably be able to get this one tuned up and sold and cover the parts and make, maybe $50 or so. I don't do this for a living. I just do it for fun. Kind of, I enjoy saws. I enjoy helping people. And if I can do both of them at the same time, it's a win for me and it's a win for them. Nobody really loses. Unless the saw's a huge pain and then I lose. But it's always a learning experience. So this is the one we just took off. This is the new one. You can see they're built very similarly. The fuel is on the same side. The little flapper that's on the same side. The choke. You will notice this is a slightly bigger carburetor. Internally, anyway. Let me get that flip. You see, it's a tiny bit bigger, and it's got a bigger hole in it. So even choked, it's letting through a bit more. So what you will see though is the old one has a snorkel on it. So we are going to take that snorkel off and we're going to put it on this one. All right, so that snorkel, Joe, you remember this piece? It goes in against the carburetor. So it sits in there like that. This piece goes on there. Air filter goes on here. Well, there's this hole, or this space in the top that goes down and feeds air directly through this little hole, which goes into the snorkel. The snorkel just kind of press fits in there. So we do need to swap that to this new carburetor for it to work correctly. Also, and I've already done this, I believe was either an impulse hole or maybe another version of the snorkel. But this part was plugged off and this part was open. I knocked the brass plug out of there with the picks. Yeah, all these. This one's just 90-degree. Then a straight one for stabbing. But I knocked that out, and then I filled this in with a JB. Yeah, this. So I did look it up. It did say it was fuel resistant. So I used this, and I've used it on a different saw, and it worked fine. We're going to take this snorkel off. And we're going to get a better screwdriver for that. A little bit more there. Okay, even more. How long are these dang screws? Oops. Magnetic screwdrivers are helpful some of the time. Set that down over there. Is any... Oh yeah, like none of this has been in shot. I am thrilled about that. So, we got the snorkel taken off. We are going to put the snorkel on this one. So this side is for your throttle and everything. It's got this single bolt in the middle. On the other side is where we have the 4 screws. So we're going to take off this side and put the snorkel on. I know my table is dirty. I need to find a new piece of cardboard. I've redone too many saws up here and had gas leak and everything else. It's starting to get kind of squishy and gross. I'm going to take that cap off. Now what you want to remember is your fuel line was pointed back this way. So when we set it on, we need that snorkel to point back and go into that plastic piece with the air filter. So we need to make sure that we put this on the correct way, or else it will not work. Now I'm putting the screws from the new carburetor back in here, not the ones from the old carb. Just because I know those threads fit perfectly. I don't want to take the risk of, like, I don't know, marring something up. Ooh. And we don't need new bolts in here. I mean, if they were all beat up or kind of stripped out or something, then I might, just for ease of maintenance later if it's needed. But they all seem pretty good right now. That fat screwdriver is hard to get in beside there. All right, and the last one. All right, so you don't need these cranked. Just fairly snug. All right, so now we got the snorkel on the new carb. We're gonna set this old one off to the side. Zoom out a bit. There we go. Should have done that earlier. Now we're going to slide this new carburetor right in here. And skinny pliers and get the fuel line plugged back in on there. And I did feel the fuel line. It's got squish. It seems all right. So we're not replacing that. Let's get all of our linkages back in here. Now, one thing is, so usually when you swap this carburetor, this front piece here that is actually on that the piece that pushes in here, you'll probably have to bend this out so it doesn't have a bunch of play or cutting you short on the throttle. I'm not going to bend it right now though, because I want to be able to show you guys how you fix that and how to know how far to go. We're going to get this throttle slid back off of here. Oh, I'll get out. Get out. I did it the wrong way. We're going to take this. We're going to feed it back in there. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this. So this piece here, right here, that is our new throttle. And under here, there is a hole to feed it in. So we're going to take that loop, go in there, and if you're doing this, you're going to have a better line of view than through a camera for obvious reasons. But you'll just get it looped around there. And then now that you're looped in there, we're going to take our zoom back out. We're going to take our throttle, thread that in there, just like how we took it off Just turning the throttle and getting that piece fit. We're gonna slide this back in here, get hooked under this little safety, or the tab for the safety, I guess. So now what, I'm gonna try to show you this. So push down the safety. You see how much that's moving? Watch that, the throttle itself, this little piece right here. You'll see how much movement there is in the linkage and how there's no movement in there. That means you got way too much play. And then when you do get some, that's all the further I can go. And you have from this piece here all the way down to this plate. So let me take you guys down a bit further. So this distance from here all the way down to this plate, you have that much throttle that you're missing out on. So what we're going to do is take this throttle trigger thingy back off. We're going to unhook that linkage. And I wish I had a bigger pair of pliers. And we're just going to grab this little end. We're going to bend it where it goes from 90 to something like that. We'll see how far that takes us. I don't know, I'm sure somebody's got the exact measurements or degrees or whatever all figured out, but that's not me. Once again, with this trigger lined up on there, you guys have already seen that a dozen times. I don't think you really care. All right, now let's see where we sit. Still got a lot of play in there. We do have more throttle though, just a little bit. Zoom in there. So our throttle and this plate right here is what we're looking at. I am trying my best. All right, there we go. So our throttle and the plate that it should just barely touch. We're almost there. So all I'm gonna do, zoom out. All I'm gonna do is once again take the trigger off. Get that. Oh, come on. Don't start being a pain. Get that off. I'm gonna unloop this here. Okay, ideally we're gonna unloop this here. All right, there we go. And then we're just going to bend this link out a bit more. Now it's somewhere in there. That's got to get us fairly close, I would think. So get this. Oh, where'd the L go? There we go. And like we've done a dozen times, put that trigger back on, get it on the stumpy bit in here that it sits on. Safety latch. Hold the carburetor back where it's going to be. There's still a good amount of play because of the trigger. But alright, so now I'd say this is probably pretty good. I pull the trigger, that finger comes down. We just barely touch that. If you really push on the trigger, well, it skips, but it's right there on top. So we're getting as much of the throttle out of this thing as we can. So I would say that's probably adjusted just fine. And now that the everything with the trigger is done, it's the adjustments and getting it hooked up and everything. Now, I'll put this side piece back on. Oh, also, just in case, you got the piece that wraps around the spring. It is, because every once in a while these things do fly apart when you take them apart, and if you've never seen it, it's really hard to figure out how they go sometimes. So it is hooked around the front of the trigger, and then it's coiled around here, and then it goes back and it slides under this tab on the safety piece. So see, you can't really pull the trigger because that there. Then when you push this, it gets it out of the way and your trigger can slide up through. So that's how they work. Yeah, let's get this side piece thrown back on here. And you know, you don't have to be a professional 4 years in college degree and everything to do basic work on your own saws. A lot of places, as much as I love them, still, they want you to take your saw in for every teeny tiny thing. They don't want you touching them, and it's overkill. It's unneeded. And then stuff like we're doing on this one, I highly doubt they would ever swap out a carburetor that was not made for this saw, because it would probably void a warranty. But it's the only way you can get one of these little 170 or 180. I think was it 182? I don't know. There's a couple of them. Anyway, there's a couple of them that don't have these adjustable carbs, so they only have like a low idle or something like that. And if you port them off there, you have to have more fuel. So, all right, that's on. Still works good. Or what is this? What is this thing? It's like Dora the Explorer. Oh my god. Do you know what this thing is? Point to it. choke. That's what it is. Just like me while doing videos. Where is that? There it is. All right, so we got our lever. And we're going to slide it under the throttle linkage because that's where it was before. There we go. Get it turned the right way and it'll fit back in here. There we go. Now, you see that little ribbon is under here, so we can't really push it down. So I'm going to grab that ribbon, get it pulled up, and be able to pop that down into place where it needs to be. Please excuse my dogs trying to kill each other. I'll click that back down. Our kill switch, ground cable, whatever you want to call it, just going to slide back in there, pop the wire back down in that little holder. So that's good. This slides in. Now you can see that little tiny hole there. That's where that straight part slides into, just like that. And then you install these the same way you take them off, basically. You pick up that until it kind of lines up. And then you might have to scoop the carburetor itself forward or back, jiggle it around. It'll pop right in there. So now our choke works. Let's get our plastic put on here. Lined up correctly. Oop, oop. Don't forget this white piece. My God, that is this one isn't quite as bad, but I forgot one on a different saw a while back, and I had to disassemble like the entire saw to get it back together. All right, there we go. We'll get the 2 bolts that went on here. Get them started by hand so we don't cross thread anything, because that's never beneficial or fun to deal with. On some of these, for whatever reason, it's kind of hard to tell when they are actually tight. Like, they feel like they're tight long before they actually are. So once they start feeling pretty snug, I'll try to wiggle this, make sure. Because remember, it is plastic. You don't want the plastic snapping on you. But that all seems pretty solid. Put our air filter back up on here. But there's our issue. It's not adjustable, so it doesn't have the holes in the side. I believe this piece had holes in the side. This plastic piece. I thought I was still going to be able to get to that for some reason. Get those backed all the way off there. like so. You know, exactly how we did before. And exactly how we put them back on. Oh, come on, get out of there. You see, this has holes in the side of it. So I'm wondering if those actually line up with the other adjustments. Let's try to get a little bit of this. Out of there. Man, I can't see nothing. Let's try just sticking a screwdriver in there and see. Oh, that hit the screw. All right, so we can just use those to line up the holes. That'll be helpful. Which, you know, easier said than done, because I still can't see the holes. And I don't want to cut out too much. So I'm going to go get a drill bit, and we'll come back and see how badly I can mess this up. I surprisingly had a drill bit very close. So probably better just to bolt this back on, but I'm going to try to just hold it. Then the other one is right over in here. Fit a screwdriver in there? Not, well, kind of. This. Got a little. There we go. All right, I can get to that screw. Get to that screw. And we still have this one down here at the bottom for the idle adjustment. So I think what I'm gonna do for that is just look at it from this way and try to get everything lined up the best I can. This is not a super heavy duty saw, so there won't be a ton of pressure on it, but I would still rather have the smallest hole possible, and I don't want to have to bore anything out if I don't absolutely have to. Let's shoot for there. No, the spot I started. Thank you. Well, good news is, it's pretty much right where we need it. Bad news is I slammed into the carburetor, or the bolt. It's not ruined. I popped through there at a high rate of speed. These new drill bits are built for speed. Well, they're new drill bits. I'm usually using something that's beat up and doesn't work worth a crap. Let's go a little bit bigger on that. Screwdriver. Be able to go through. Yep, it's right in there. So you can see these holes I drilled up here go straight in to the bolts, the adjustment screws. This one actually goes through the handle and it gets to that bottom one. It's not the prettiest thing in the world, admittedly, but it'll work. It's adjustable. Now let's make sure this hole lines up with the one in this black case. It somewhat does. Just gonna open that up a tiny bit more so you aren't fighting trying to get into this bolt. Man, that is not lined up the greatest. So I'm gonna go in right through the holes that I drilled and then hit this case. Yeah, you can see it's just a tiny bit off. It would work, but then nobody wants to fight with that. A lot of people don't even like tuning their carburetors, let alone fighting to try to tune the thing. All right, so now we're going to get these two actually put back on. Now we got access holes to tune it. So I'm going to get all this put back together and then we'll come back to port the muffler.